Robert Rodriguez is joining us. Thanks for the time, Coach.
Thanks, guys.
We'll go straight to questions using the raised hand function. Please use the raised hand function. If you have a question for Coach, start off with Chris.
Hey, Robert, can you talk about guys who have improved from last year, maybe Stanley Lambert or Joe Moore or other guys like that?
I think you nailed it right in the head because Joe Moore is it's a competition between who has been the most improved between Stanley and Joe. You know, obviously with various guys who've had to miss time, those young guys have had to make a jump. So I'm really proud of both Joe and Stanley, how much progress they've made from the last game to here. I was starting to see those steps in those last two games with both those guys, but they've made progress in the right direction. They still got a ways to go as an all-around defensive ends, but those two guys stand out in my mind.
Just to follow up, what sort of things specifically have they done to enable that?
Both of them are playing faster. They're playing with much better body lean. Their technique has improved exponentially, and the angles that they take to the football have gotten better. When they get to the contact point, right when they're about to make contact with the offensive lineman in pass sets, they're more aggressive, and they're protecting their bodies better, and they're just playing with better balance all the way around. And they're starting to implement pass rush moves. They're not just trying to run around guys. So that's the biggest thing. With Joe, it's night and day. His ability to go break people down and actually become a fully rounded pass rusher, those steps you're starting to see those things take hold. So I'm really excited about those guys' future. If we played a game today, I don't think I'd be 100% confident that those guys could play a lot for us. But I see in the horizon those guys can be those guys sooner rather than later. So I'm optimistic.
Michelle.
Hey, Coach, can you kind of update us on your guys that are coming off injuries, be it Stephon Wright, I guess Tyler Johnson, and Amiri Johnson, who was out all of last year, kind of where they are and when you expect them to be able to go kind of full speed again?
Yeah, I'd love to, Michelle, but that, out of respect for Coach Herm, I'm going to allow him to discuss timetables and things of that nature. What I will say is those guys have all been great in the classroom. Obviously, they won't be back this spring, so I'll let Coach Herm handle those things, but those guys are all doing the right things, and mentally they're still engaged, and I expect them all to contribute when they come back.
Ode?
Hey, Robert, I know Stanley Lambert is one player that's kind of been through hell and back with a serious injury back in 2018, but I would say that since he got here, he's probably playing his best football. I know you only got to coach him since last year, but can you talk about the advancements that Stanley has made in specific?
Yeah, all I can tell you is what I've seen with my own eyes, and it's a different guy. It's light years ahead of where he was last year. When we first got him, it was honestly, hey, look, he hasn't really stuck and been able to find it anywhere else. What do you think? And I was excited. I saw a guy with a great skill set. But his first day in there, you could just tell it was very, very foreign to him. So Stanley's had to make a lot of changes, both physically, but more so mentally and emotionally. You got to get your mind right to do some of the things that the defensive line is asked to do, and to do it every day consistently. It takes. You got to be a little bit tougher, and you got to be a little bit more accepting of pain and punishment. So he has done those things. I'm really tipping my hat off to Stanley for the changes he's made off the field. He's a more disciplined person. He's engaged. He has made so much improvement. And we are allowed to check to see what guys are watching film away from this building. And Stanley's one of my top guys. So he's earned it, and he's getting better because he's putting in the work and he's really sacrificing to do it. So I'm very proud of him. He's got, like I said, he's got a ways to go, but that kid has really made a lot of sacrifices mentally to get to where he's at right now.
Christian?
Yeah, Coach, I just got to say, watching you when you coach the drills, it's clear, how much energy and passion you have. But the one thing I thought was interesting was how you're really encouraging your guys to embrace loving the monotony of the drills and just going through it over and over again and refining their technique each time. How does that, incorporate into your overall coaching philosophy with those guys?
Well, the thing about good defensive linemen, I think sometimes we talk too much about them being athletes, and you forget you're right in front of the man that's going to punch you in the face. Somebody's going to hit you on every single play. And so you have to train your body to do things that are unnatural, to do them unconsciously. And so you can't wait and say, I need to get my hands up. Your hands need to be up. And if you don't train them to do that, they're not going to be there on game day. They're going to let you down. And so there's a lot of coaches that come from the philosophy of keep things fresh, switch things up. It's like you got to entertain them. And what I'm trying to tell these guys is I can entertain you, but your muscle memory is going to let you down on game day. You better not expect it to do anything but what you've taught it to do. And so you have to embrace the grind on a daily basis, because at the end of the day, when the ball snapped on game day, your habits will come through for you, whether they're good or bad. And if you're going to be a great defensive lineman in our technique, which is very, very fundamentally sound, then comfort and greatness are on two different roads. They're not on the same road. And so you have got to get uncomfortable, accept that, embrace it, and understand that I'm uncomfortable because I'm doing the tough things that other guys aren't doing. It's going to make me great because they're not willing to do these things. They might not even know that they need to do these things. But trying to be comfortable and having too much fun and saying, oh, we did this drill, this drill. It ain't about drills. It's about the consistency of your muscle memory when the ball is snapped.
A few more questions. Michael.
Yeah, Coach, overall, though, how do you feel that the chemistry and the communication with the defense has evolved? Obviously, a short season last year, but from the end of the season last year until now through this part through the spring.
Well, I think there's a different there's a different confidence in the room. All the guys that came back, I think they feel like we can be really, really good. And I think the expectations are higher. But I also think that the standard, it remains high. And they're just walking with a bit more confidence as a group. I think we have leaders emerging that are truly leaders. They've been here a long time. And I point to guys like, like Black and Chase. And, those guys are taking leadership roles. We've got guys in our room like Matus, who's really emerging as a leader in our room. Those are all guys who they went out there and put it on the field last year. And I didn't see that as much as I see it now. And so I see just a little bit more confidence in their step as they walk around. We're expecting to win. The standard is higher. We're not as accepting of mistakes. And as a defensive line, we have got to get back to that place we were last year. Those guys were hungry and they wanted to prove to the world that they weren't, the redheaded stepchildren. And I want to get that edge back. I think, as I want them to be confident, but I think what made us great last year was our willing to sacrifice and do whatever it takes. And so that's where we're focused as a defensive line. But as a defense as a whole, I think we've got great leadership. And I think we got a lot of guys who can make plays. So there's a lot more confidence in the room.
Michelle?
I got two questions, Coach. One, you may not answer this one either, but obviously Jermelle Lole is dealing with a lot and he's away from the team right now. Can you say if you expect him back at the end of spring practice or what his time frame might be? And the second question is,
he'll be back. Yeah, the things that have kept him away are things that I can't even get into. It has to do with his family's in California. Obviously, he's been through a profound amount of loss this year, and so I think I really appreciate Herm and Ray and everyone who has decided to take care of him and allow him to not just grieve but be there to support his mother and his family. But he'll be back. He'll be back sooner than later. I don't know exactly. I mean, I do, but again, I'll defer to Coach Edwards. I'll let Coach Herm handle that. But I expect him to be back. I don't know if he'll be back in enough time to participate in spring ball, but he's already participating in class, albeit off campus. But nonetheless, he'll be back here with us sooner rather than later.
and my follow-up question on that was, did you exceed the expectations you had for this group last year, or was the performance what you thought that they would do?
Wow, that's a good question because I'm trying to put myself in the same place last year, and my expectations are high. So I don't think we exceeded it, but I think it's still maybe I guess I did. In the back of my head, I have these expectations. They're standards, but maybe expectations could be different, I guess. But when we started so quickly getting to the quarterback and creating pressure and doing good things, I was just really energized by that. I think I didn't expect it to happen so soon. I expected to be there more growing pains. But at that Oregon State game, that offensive line did a heck of a job and challenged us. And for a second there, our defensive line didn't respond the way we wanted them to. They went back to old habits. We got it, focused on the sideline, got back to basics, and finished that game the right way. So I guess to answer your question, Michelle, I'm sorry. I think we exceeded them a little bit, and but all they did is just raise that bar. So now the expectations are going to stay higher and higher.
Last question, Gabe.
Coach, you mentioned habits and such. What can you implement this year? Or what are you trying to implement this year that you didn't get to last year?
There's another level to pass rush, to having second, third, fourth moves that are ready to go. There's a lot more that we can do in terms of our pass rush and in games and things of that nature. And so there's always another level you can reach. The biggest thing, though, is consistency. You know, we did some stuff that I'm going to put on my teach tape because we did things exactly the way you want it done. And I don't care if you're the Minnesota Vikings or, you know, Valley View Middle School. That's how you want it done. So there's some Sun Devils on my teach tape now. The problem is that it needs to be more consistent. It needs to look like that more consistently. And so that's what I'm really looking for, is doing things the right way 9 out of 10 instead of 6 out of 10. And that's when we're going to start to become the type of defensive line that passes it down. Everybody comes into this system, has that foundation under them. And no matter who goes into the game, the expectation of good, fundamental, aggressive, hard-nosed football, it stays the same. You don't have to worry about when that guy's in and when that guy's in. Doesn't matter. If you're a Sun Devil D lineman, you're out there and you're doing it the right way, and you can expect good production and great football and great effort.